Deadlighters.
Hey, Deadheads.
I like that.
All right,
I like
cool.
Deadheads.
What up, Deadheads? It's Sam.
It's Leslie.
Let's start over. What up, Deadheads? It's Sam.
It's Leslie. And we have good news.
Really good news. We're doing a live event
We are.
at Hex Coffee in Chicago, Illinois.
It's going to be a horror trivia night, y'all.
Hosted by me and Leslie.
Yeah, the people who are here.
The people that host this show are going to be hosting those. So please, if you are in Chicago and you like trivia and you like coffee, come on by.
Yeah, there's also beer and food.
Friday, March 31st, 7 p.m. Hex Coffee.
See you there.
Cool. That works.
Nice.
I'm sure I could take one
Yeah.
of those. Yeah.
Don't you want it? 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 You lose your living mind. Live, dead, lives.
So, welcome to the podcast, Mini. I'm your host, Mini Sam.
And I'm Mini Leslie, bringing you your mini episode.
Sorry, I just paused there for a second.
Yeah, you were just like a doll.
I was frozen.
Yeah, I turned around and I'm like, oh my God, am I in a nightmare right
Yeah.
now?
Am I the only one who's not frozen in the world?
Wow. Wicka, wicka, wicka.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
That would be crazy.
That'd be wow.
I haven't taken a sip from
Me either.
this,
Oh.
so I'm going to take a...
Pretty nice.
Yeah. It was.
bad.
It's a lot sweeter than I thought it would be.
Thank you, Christy.
Thank you, Christy.
Allison's mom got me this for
Oh, Allison's mom. Hi, Christy.
for Christmas. So thank you, Christy. Cheers to you.
Cheers to
Cheers
you.
to you.
When
Awesome.
Allison always talks about her, she calls her mom. So I
Right.
don't think I've known her name.
Yes. That is mom.
Mom.
Christy mom.
Christy mom.
Appreciate you. So welcome to the Minisode space. Clearly this is where we let loose and all bets are off.
Yeah, absolutely.
All bets are off.
All the episodes are us drinking. Almost all.
I think so far with season 2, at least most of the minisodes we've had a drink in our hands.
Mhm.
I think for the full sodes we've kept it pretty
Chill.
sober.
Pretty chill.
Yeah, but minisodes we kind of just go for it.
Especially when it's just us.
Yeah.
We just get loose.
Yeah,
We're wild animals.
We're never gonna leave the minisode space.
Just kidding. We're not wild.
Yeah, right. That wasn't a lie. So today we're actually bringing back an episode from season 1, resurrecting it as we said we might in season 1. And that's talking about something that you and I are both into. Besides horror.
Yeah. Well, it's horror in itself, too.
It's horrific for sure, and that is true crime.
True crime.
We got a couple true crime stories for y'all that we have heard one way or another over the years, and we're going to share it with you. So
Yeah.
definitely listener/viewer discretion advised on this one.
Absolutely.
Because at least I know my story is
Awful. I mean,
It's
mine
bad.
is awful, too.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to tell you now.
Yeah.
I don't know much of the details. I forgot.
Well, I guess to
Should've-
start off before we get into the stories, just to remind everyone, maybe if they didn't listen to that minisode in
Mhm.
season 1, why do you like true crime? Why do you listen to it?
I listen to it because I have a morbid fascination with understanding and knowing what's going on around me.
Mhm.
Because that makes me feel prepared. And I know people that don't listen to true crime, like my partner, they don't like hearing these stories over and over again of just death and absolutely
The
It-
depravity of man.
yeah, it
Yeah.
is a obsession that's, I mean, to a lot of people not healthy, but I don't view it that way because I feel like it's helping me understand the signs and dangers. So that's what I listen to it.
I actually completely agree. When I first started listening to it, I think that it started off more as like the morbid fascination, but then as I got more of these stories that made me more aware of the world outside of my own bubble and people that were outside of my bubble, I think that that's when I realized that, oh, it's actually really important to listen to things like this because it does make you aware and feel more prepared for what's out there. Because there's some, no matter how safe you feel, there's some fucking crazy people out there, no matter where you are.
Yep.
And we're here to remind you. So again, listener discretion advised. This is gonna get a little crazy.
A little crazy.
Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
I want to go first.
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go.
Another thing that I like in hearing true crime all the time, because I have about 4 of them that I listen to. I mean, yeah, I start like thinking about how many serial killers I encounter a day as someone who's a cash registry. I worked at a market, so I'm just like, are you one? Are you one? Are you one?
Beep,
oh, you
beep,
can't be,
beep.
but you can. Like, it's just,
You could.
I'm
Anyone.
like, are you taking this food down to somebody who's in a basement right now?
Maybe.
Those are the unhealthy thoughts
Right.
that come up. But also, I'm just, spider senses tingling. I'm just like, ooh, you creep.
Being aware of it.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, you creep.
Ooh, you're a creep.
Creepy senses are tingling.
Tingles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of spider senses, no, this has no connection. But this is the conspiracy of 2 boys that were found on some tracks in Arkansas. Arkansas. I mean, don't fucking spell it as Arkansas. Arkansas.
Come on, don't do that.
Don't do that. We already have a Kansas. Yeah. Anyways.
Get your own name.
Damn it. This is so out of whack. Anyways. These 2 boys were found on the tracks. And their parents were really concerned about them because they were actually good kids. But they were best of friends and they would smoke weed, and they said that night they had smoked so much. So like the prosecutor I was able to identify high amounts of marijuana in their system. And that is what he eventually ended up saying, that it was a suicide. They were or an accident because of how high they were, that they led up to the tracks and they just didn't know how to get out of that situation. But this is where the conspiracy comes in, because they weren't just like laying down on the tracks or being on the tracks at all by themselves. Oh, what am I trying to say? They were found in bags, laid by the tracks. And
so how do they get in the bags?
Exactly. And then no one, the police and the prosecutor are not saying, they're saying that they weren't in the bags, that they just were found, just laying by the tracks really high.
Or they put themselves in the bags.
Yeah, it's like, how are they going to put themselves in the bags? And how is this a suicide then if they were in bags? So there must have been another third party, or, the parents believe that they ran into some trouble. They knew some information about the city or a gang or something. They also mentioned, because they were children and were smoking marijuana, they thought that they were also dealing it. So there was that kind of drug speculation of they were dealers, or they ran into some a dealing that was happening. And apparently the like city is like very corrupted, so they thought that they had no like they ran into some information about the city and how one of the like higher people was like misusing the money, like, or they were involved in drugs. So it's like this whole big old conspiracy of like who could have killed the kids. Also, there was a serial killer that was active during that time, that could have just passed through and found these kids by themselves in the woods high and could have befriended them and then killed them. So, but yeah, so like to me, this story is very important because it was clearly hiding something. They were found in bags. It's not a suicide. And also, I don't care how high you are. If a train is coming, you will feel it. You would sense it. You would hear it. Like that would activate a response in which even if you're so fucking high, will get you out of it and not have you cross some tracks.
Yeah.
Or lay in tracks.
Or you'd at least think, well, okay, maybe we could say one of these kids was so high that they got hit by a train, but not two. Like two of them?
Yeah.
Like you would think like at least one of them would have the sense to like get out of that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's such a freak thing to get hit by a train.
Yeah. Unless it's an actual suicide.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense
Yeah.
at all. And then for the whole police, the whole city kind of gaslighting these parents. And they knew who their kids were, you know, like, I mean, I don't think they knew that they smoked weed, but like that doesn't make you a bad child. And they stood by and was, I think, till they passed away, they had always been fighting the city and trying to get information because it's still unsolved. It's a cold case. I think shut case, but yeah. Because
they just ruled it a suicide.
Yeah.
In some way. Yeah.
Yeah. Done.
Closed. Yeah. Well, and yeah, that was my question is like, what's the city trying to hide? Or what is a police department trying to hide? What is their incentive to rule it a suicide? So that's terrifying, really. That's scary. Because of like the systematic power that some of these institutions have. So yeah, to just silence people. To silence those kids people. And then silence their families of trying to figure out what happened.
I just don't understand the whole like keeping the parents from information. Because even if they were, let's say, not telling them the truth, something had happened to their god awful to their children that they didn't want to share because it would have not really mattered because they have no idea where to even look, and they want to keep the information so it doesn't spread, and then have if it was a serial killer, like know that he needs to change his MO or something or relocate or I don't know. So I don't know. Yeah, it was awful. There's children. Yeah, they're teenagers.
Yeah, I think unfortunately too with these type of stories is like the stories that are surrounded with so much conspiracy theories. There's like so much focus on trying to explain what happened, and then at a certain point it becomes forgotten that there's actually like two kids that are dead, and it becomes just about this whole big thing when it's actually just about like these two kids dying, and a lot of people just forget about the victims, you know. Yeah. So yeah, that's a really sad story for so many reasons. Look it up.
Look it up.
Look it up. Get the deets.
I got I heard this episode about these children on Crime Junkie.
Crime Junkie.
Crime Junkie.
Good one.
Yeah.
Good one.
So good.
Nice. All right, my story. Time for story time from Sam. Lightning strike. Lightning strike.
Mine was a zombie, like,
Yeah. All right, so mine is about a happy couple. A very happy couple.
They're so happy.
They're so happy.
No.
And they're driving around a very wooded area to go camping. And this is a couple that met in church. So they're very religiously devoted too. So they're getting away for the weekend, and they stop at a certain point on the road because they pass some roadkill. And I guess the boyfriend has some sort of fascination with roadkill. So he wants to pull over and check it out. So he gets out.
The little church boy being fascinated with roadkill?
Yeah. Okay. Whatever he needs to get you through the day or whatever.
The night.
Or the service. So he goes off, and she kind of like loses track of him, and he doesn't come back for a second, and then she gets concerned, so she gets out of the car.
Oh no. This is how it all.
Yeah. It starts to follow him, and then from the back gets hit and goes unconscious, and then wakes up and is in the middle of the woods, doesn't know where, tied up, and there's someone over her who's masked and leaves her there, and leaves her with her feet and her hands tied up, and she's just sitting there for hours. And then after a while, she can start to hear her boyfriend in the distance starting to call for her, and they over a while get to each other, roll to each other, and then get each other's bindings free. But then they're like lost in the woods. They have no idea where they are. So they start to venture out, and they're lost for days, and they don't have water, they don't have food. And I think it's probably a week or so later that they actually finally find the civilization. And they go to the police and give their statements about this guy that tied him up. And then when they start telling the stories, some weird things start to come out. Apparently, when they were lost for a week and they were like trying to survive, a couple of nights in, the guy was starting to push that they should have sex with each other because he thought that they were going to die, and he thought that this was going to be possibly their last days, and they're both virgins because they wanted to save themselves for marriage. And so he was kind of pushing for them to have sex because he's like, you really want to die a virgin? And so they did multiple times, apparently, throughout the week, and then made it back to civilization. And then as this stuff comes out, they start to realize that, wait a second, there was actually no guy that kidnapped them. There was no person that tied them up. It was actually the boyfriend who went out and tied her up, and then tied himself up, and then made them lost for days to try to entice her into having sex with him, because he just couldn't wait for marriage. He just had to have sex for some reason so badly that he needed to set up this whole ruse to get them lost in the woods and desperately running from a killer to have sex with him.
That is psychotic.
Yes.
That is
absolutely
not just fucked up. That is like, holy shit. That would shake my whole reality. I mean, let alone break up with him, obviously. But I would just be like, bro. Really? You did all of this because you wanted this pussy? Damn!
That guy was so freaking horny.
He was so horny. He couldn't do anything to himself to relieve himself.
Couldn't jerk it enough.
Nope.
Couldn't jerk it enough.
Damn.
Yeah, that's one of the stories that one of the few true crime stories that I tell people, and it's because I remember the first time I heard it and that reveal of like, oh my God, it was all him.
It was all him.
What? Wow. It was, yeah.
Like,
I that was like my jaw actually was open when I heard that.
That is not like to think that, to even think it is insane.
Mm-hmm.
And then to follow through and do the whole thing to try to just like have sex with this person it's beyond insane.
Like, dude, just marry her, right?
Yeah.
Just marry her. Like,
don't do this. Don't tie her and make her traumatized.
oh my God. Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
Fucking crazy.
Crazy. Oh my God. Poor girl.
I know.
I mean, no, in a sense, she did get raped.
Oh, absolutely. She got, she was deceived and manipulated into having sex. So that I would consider
Lost in the
rape.
woods.
Lost in the woods. And it's an interesting...
And kidnapped. It was kidnapped, essentially.
I mean, it's an interesting... This guy, psycho criminal, obviously, fuck him. But we have to also acknowledge that it was coming from a place that his religion was holding, in some way, making him feel like there was a barrier where he had to go to these lengths to do these type of things. I don't know what his actual specific upbringing was, but it's definitely an element to this story.
Religion.
Yeah. It's definitely a part of it, part of his psyche. So it's a wild one, and I gotta credit Sword and Scale is the podcast that I tune into weekly. It's a very, very, very good true crime podcast. Check it out.
Nice.
Yes.
Great.
Wow.
Roller coaster.
What the hell?
Wow. Ow.
Some real life true crime. Yeah. We made it.
True crime, not fake.
Not fake.
Not fake crime.
Not fake crime. Real.
Not fake crime. Real.
Real stuff.
Real stuff.
This is
right here.
Real true stuff.
This is the truth.
Oh boy. All right.
Anyways,
let's get out of here before we become a true crime.
Oh no. Like we'll get murdered, or this podcast would be a true crime podcast.
We're gonna murder the podcast game.
Yeah. Oh no. Well, my name is you can find me on Instagram, Color Me Leslie.
And me at Beep Beep Richie T. And us at the Deadlights Pod.
The Deadlights Pod.
Also check out Playground Social, which is the studio that we're recording this from.
Playground Social.
But until next minisode, let's
get
mini spooky. Clink, clink, clink. Stay safe, y'all.
Stay safe, y'all.